there is no escape, nor do we want it. We've come to thrive on it and each other. You can't get the adrenaline pumping without the terror, good people.
In the late 1980s, a horror icon would be born in the form of Chucky, a killer doll being the catalyst for every kid's nightmare. But despite its success, we would see MGM sell the future rights of the franchise to Universal, where they could pick up the pieces where the first film left off. In 1990, we would see Child's Play 2 released, and it would soon become one of the most revered and iconic horror movie sequels ever made. In a shocking turn of events, only 9 months later will we see the release of Child's Play 3. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Christian Hanna Horror here. So we talked about Leatherface 3, and I thought, why not follow it up with another 3? Let's talk about a movie that I've never really talked about by itself before. I really can't recall ever talking about it much at all. Child's Play 3. Now, I'm sure a lot of you that may be watching this video will probably instantly get a smile on your face because a lot of people love this movie. And I want to really try to break down what I think it is. Because guess what? I'm a big fan too. Child's Play 3 is my most rewatched Child's Play. It's the one I go to above all of them. And I really want to understand why. And I'm going to try to break down what I think that is. So obviously, Child's Play 3 was a rushed production. And you see that on screen. Obviously, this film came out 9 months after Part 2. And it raked in a healthy profit around the $20 million mark. Now, the budget for this movie, it's not exactly known what it cost to make, but I'm sure it was a cheaper budget. Look, it was so rushed, so I can't imagine it cost that much money. So against a $20 million, box office, I think the film probably did pretty good. Good enough to subsequent more sequels as the series is still going. But anyway, Child's Play 3. Andy's he's an adult now. I think he's a young adult. He's going to military school. His life has been turned upside down. He's lost his mom. His mom's not with him. Here he is. He's a loner kid that enters this military school, and he's still fighting the mental struggles he had from Chucky. He's trying to move past it in his life, and he's got all these people around him that are like, you need to grow up, kid. Stop playing with dolls. Stop blaming them for your problems. I remember that one drill sergeant that runs the school. When he shows up, he's like, when I grew up, I had to put away childish things. And, he's reading a paper about a kid that blamed the doll for the murders. I would be freaked out reading the paper, but he's not fazed. But his heart was a little fazed, as we'll find out later in the movie. But Child's Play 3 is an interesting tale, because for a movie that came out 9 months later, it's interesting that they rapidly went forward in time. Now, I can't imagine that this was the first idea that they were going to have. I know that Don Mancini had, quite frankly, a different script in mind for the original Child's Play, and I think that Cult of Chucky was an idea that he had brought back as early as Part 3, having multiple Chuckies. But this Chucky film takes place years later, and Andy is a young adult in the military school. But you have other characters that kind of replace the Andy. You've got the young Tyler, who isn't as iconic as Andy, but I love Tyler. I thought Tyler was great. This movie screams home video rental store horror movie to me. It's got that production that kind of mimics a lot of the movies that we've seen that are like that. They're those home video movies that you rent. And that's not a knock. Quite frankly, I think it's a loving compliment, because that's the time of my life I loved so much, renting those movies from the movie store and getting these great films that, would just fill your night with joy. Child's Play 3 has certainly done that for me. But there are some things I think are actually really great about this film. Let's talk about it. Number one, the opening sequence in Child's Play is horrifying. You're in the Grizzly factory that we ended off in Part 2, and you see this crane grab this disgusting, revolting blob of a doll, and when it picks it up, it drips blood out of it because that's Chucky's body. He's obviously human, despite the fact that he's dead in there. A little bit of logic gap problems right there, but whatever, who cares? If he turns into a human and he dies, isn't he dead? And shouldn't that blood have coagulated by that point? How many years has it been? But you forgive it, you don't worry about it, and you see this great sequence of the blood dripping into this vat of this latex, and it starts spinning, and then you start putting two and two together. Oh, Chucky's coming back into a new doll. And then you see that creepy shot of a eyeless doll screaming no. Creeps me out. As a kid, that was terrifying. I love the opening sequence to 3. You gotta put logic aside for this one, and that's fine. This is a movie about a killer doll to begin with. I do think that the film has characters that, while they may not be as well fleshed out as 2, obviously the relationship with Kyle and Andy was so magnificent, and you really felt for them throughout the movie, and you were so glad to see them live. Part 3 manages to just have great, funny characters, and I love it. And I think that there is some really great unintentional humor in Child's Play 3. This could just be me. Boardroom meeting where they're talking about whether to relaunch the Child's Play dolls again, or the good guy dolls, rather. You have the executive guy, the silver-haired guy who's running the stuff, and his responses are, the hardest part about this business is that it is a business. I can't tell if that's the laziest writing I've ever seen or the greatest because of how funny that is to me. That's what you say? We're talking about a doll that killed people, and your response is, the hardest part about a business is that it is a business. Or better yet, the bottom line is, and you're expecting him to say something great like, the bottom line is, we have to sustain blah, blah, blah to keep this running, blah, 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 to keep your jobs afloat. No. The bottom line is the bottom line. So fellas, let's say you're in a relationship and you cheat. Next time your girl calls you out on it, or she catches you, rather, just say, the hardest part about being in a relationship is that it is a relationship. Let me know what her reaction is to that. Or ladies, you can try that too. So to me, there's great unintentional humor. But let's talk about something that isn't funny, and that is the latex prosthetics on Chucky in this film. I think that this one is amazing. This could be my favorite look of Chucky. This could be my favorite design of Chucky. I just think that this one, he looked amazing. As good, if not better, than Part 2 in some scenes. Some of the scenes, the way Chucky has these horrifying facial expressions, I think are amazing. I love the way he looks in this movie. And of course, with Brad Dourif, it's never bad. You can't really have a bad Chucky movie, except Seed of Chucky, with Brad Dourif voicing it. I think that he is just money, and he is so funny in this one. His response to the old drill sergeant guy dying from his heart attack is the most funniest thing. I'm not going to repeat it here, but if you've seen the movie, you know. There are things that I think are legitimately good. I love the side characters like Whitehurst and then the guy who's in charge of the drill unit with Andy. They're so mean to him. And then you've got the girl who's supposed to be the love interest to Andy. She's great. Like, even though they're not so fleshed out like 2, they're awesome. Like, they're so entertaining. That's the thing about Child's Play 3, I think, is it's purely entertaining. It's got this X factor that makes it so much of a, what I call in the biz, a comfort movie. It's a movie you can throw on at a moment's notice. For me, a movie like Child's Play 1 and 2 are what I call main event movies. They're not movies I want to watch frequently because I don't want to get used to them. I want them to stay special, and every time I put them on, it's a magnificent viewing experience. I never want it to dwindle with excitement. Child's Play 3 has that X factor that it's always fun to watch, and you can rapidly throw it on at a moment's notice and be like, I love this movie. I'll always love this movie. Even though some of those movies may not be what you call, in my opinion, main event movies, they're special in their own right. And that's really an even more rare quality, I think. To find that movie that's an X factor, throw it on at a moment's notice movie is amazing. And to me, Child's Play 3 is, quite frankly, the best definition of one. And keeping in the spirit of Child's Play 2, I gotta say that Child's Play 3 has 99% as great as a closing sequence as Part 2. Part 2, to me, has probably one of the greatest closing sequences ever in a horror film. I love the circus carnival festival thing in 3. I think that was a great ending. Seeing Chucky in that roller coaster spooky ride just lended itself to pure horror. And the visual of seeing Chucky after his face gets cut off in there, I think you can see him on my shirt right here. Horrifying. What a look. What an iconic look. That look has got a Funko Pop, for God's sake. So, Child's Play 3, it's the little movie that could. I mean, it really is. This movie came out 9 months after Child's Play 2, and I know just as many people that say they love this one the most than 2 or 1. That is incredible to me. I love Child's Play 3. I literally could throw it on right now and just love it. I always will. And it's the one I grew up watching the most too. But what a movie to do what it did and have the reputation that it does now. People talk about it lovingly, and I think that's so cool. There are other entries in this franchise that I really dig, like Bride of Chucky, which that's an interesting one. Maybe we'll talk about that one soon because I see hard lefts and rights, people that love it and people that hate it. for Bride of Chucky, but Child's Play 3 is like that movie that a lot of people, even the people that don't love it as much, they're like, oh, that's a good one, but like I like 2 more. But I can't recall the last time I've heard somebody tell me Child's Play 3 is horrible. I just think people have great memories with that film, and it's got that X factor that you can pop it on at any time. So I just wanted to come on here and talk about this film. I've never really talked about Child's Play 3. I think it is a great, fun movie. I just want to throw it on now. And as always, these are the ways I watch it. I have both of these Chucky collections. This one's still pretty much available. This one, I think you can find it every so often, but this is the one that's available. So please let me know what you guys think about Child's Play 3. What are your memories with the film? What are the things you love about it the most? For me, it's the great ending, the extreme rewatchability, the unintentional humor, and the look of Chucky is, quite frankly, amazing. Just amazing. So I give that film a solid 9 out of 10. Screw it. Love it. Christian and a Horror, guys. Child's Play 3 rules. You let me know. See you guys next time.